Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we empower believers to build kingdom businesses that advance the Great Commission. I'm Vicki Norris.
I'm Patrice Tsague.
I met Patrice when I went through his biblical entrepreneurship training program. It personally transformed me and my business. Since then, I operate with the kingdom in mind. That's why I've joined him in this program, because now I'm passionate about helping you discover the power of kingdom principles for your business. Well, Patrice, this is really a topic near and dear to my heart. You're going to be covering today doing business as a family. You know, Trevor, my husband, is involved in restoring order. And so I just have the best job in the world because I get to listen to all this rich content and Holy Spirit-inspired material from you. And I think, you know, Trevor and I have a lot to learn.
Yeah, well, you know, the series this month, Vicki, is something really should be dear to all of us who are married hard, because at the heart of God, I believe, is the marriage, is the couple, is the union. And you know, as we and I talk often, Trevor is essential to your success.
That's right.
Just as Ginas is essential to my success. And without that oneness, really, a kingdom business cannot thrive.
Yeah, that's so important. You know, when I began my business 11 years ago, and Trevor's always been involved in my business. He's the product designer of our line of organizing products. But, you know, he just has a servant's heart. When I do my workshops and book clubs and things, I mean, man, he's there making coffee and tea and helping with the ladies. He parks people at our Simplify sale, and all the ladies who drive in like to see my husband. But he helps me and supports me in an even bigger way in that, you know, we've chosen for him to take care of our boys so that we can release the fullness of what God intends through restoring order.
Amen.
And so that really is, it's not only a lifestyle choice for us, you know, to live our priorities like we try to teach through restoring order, but really we believe that we're directed by the Lord to do that.
Amen, amen.
And so this topic I know is going to bless so many people on doing business as a family. You have a teaching for us on the two shall become one flesh. And if you've just tuned in, you're listening to the Kingdom Business Forum, where we help believers to build kingdom businesses. And one crucial part of that is running a family business,
Amen.
As we're going to learn today. So.
Well, we're beginning this series called Doing Business as a Family, and we want to set the stage to make sure we truly understand what that means. We're talking today specifically about the two shall become one. When we say doing business as a family, we mean that the husband and wife sees the business as a family business, whether or not the other mate is actively involved in the business.
That's key.
And the key to doing business as a family is also not just important for married couples, but it's also important to singles. Recognize as a single person that you may have parents, you may have other relatives, and so just knowing that you can engage them as well. So that, but the idea is that recognize you're not an island. But it's more specifically important for married couples. If in Genesis 1:24 says, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. If you are married and were to die today, would your mate be able to continue the business? That's a question to think about. Would they know enough about your business affairs to provide leadership for the next steps? Will they know whether to continue, whether to exit, whether to close things down? Would they know how to do it? Many couples in business, many husbands and wife, they operate their businesses every day without even thinking about the inevitable and how to prepare for that. Unfortunately, too many kingdom business stewards operate their businesses apart from their mates. They see the business as theirs alone, and the only contribution that the business makes to the marriage is the financial provision it brings to the family. That's a very limited view. Business can be a great tool that brings couples together in unity in the marriage. It can also bring tremendous stress in the marriage and drive couples apart. All married kingdom business stewards operate a family business, whether the mate is actively involved in the business or not. Unfortunately, men have historically committed grievous errors in not involving their mates in their business affairs. And many women have also modeled that same bad behavior. I've seen women-led businesses where the husband is not engaged at all. This error cannot be blamed on the world. Rather, the responsibility rests at the doorstep of the church that has traditionally taught headship from a place of dominion, whereby women have not felt included in the process of leadership. And so women have then modeled that same behavior. The Bible says to us in Genesis 1:26 that God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he them, male and female created he them, or created him, male and female. So you can see here that in God's original plan, it was the male and the female. The dominion mandate was not given to the male, the species. It was giving, or the gender, it was given to the man, the species, that includes both men and women. Women too have been given dominion. So when the Bible refers to the original man that was made in the Israelites of God, it's really talking about the species man, the male and the female. And so when God put Adam to sleep and said, man shall not be alone, and God took the female out of the man, thus creating male and female. So when we get married, we are joining back together that how we originally were. That's why I strongly believe that marriage is the joining of the original union that God had created before the foundation of the earth. In other words, when you get married with your mate, if you're a man, you found your rib. If you're a woman, you find your body, the body that you were connected to even before the foundation of the earth. Now, how do you know if you are not operating your business as one flesh? First, as one within business. First, it is your business and not yours and theirs. In other words, you see the business as yours and not ours. Whenever you say my business and not our business, then you're operating it as individuals. You do not involve them in the major decisions of the business. You don't counsel with them. You don't value their opinion in that process. You don't consider it. You never have a family business meeting. You never meet together as a family to talk about the business. These are the key signs of knowing if you're a business, if you're not doing business as a team or as one with your husband or your wife. You do not see them as an asset in the business. They're even sometimes a nuisance. You do not embrace their ideas. You intentionally keep them out of the loop. That does happen to some. If you were to die, they would not know how to continue or exit. They have no idea what's going on in the business. Well, how do you reverse that? How do you walk as one in business? First, declare the business a family business. I mean, go to your mate, to your husband, to your wife, and say, you know what, as of today, this is a family business. Because I recognize that though God used me to start it, it is our business and not mine. Establish a family advisory board or board of directors with regular meetings, monthly, quarterly, biannual. In other words, you and your mate become your advisory board or board of directors, with regular meeting, monthly, quarterly, or biannually, to talk about the affairs of the business. Make sure your mate understands the vision and the general goals of the business and how it connects to God's plan for your family. Particularly if the mate is not involved in the daily affairs of the business. They have to understand, how does this thing tie in? Because it does consume a lot of your time. Do not make any major decisions without involving your mate, and make sure you both are in agreement. Stop referring to the business as yours, but refer to it as ours. Pray together about the business. And lastly, seek a business coach to guide you along if necessary, or a mentor. Other couples or individuals who have gone through that path before. Marriage is one of the greatest institutions that God has created and can be a place of great fulfillment and rewards. However, a dysfunctional marriage can be the worst thing for any couple. It can be worse than a prison. It is better not to marry than to marry and not be committed to enjoying the best that marriage has to offer. Your business can either be a tool that God can use to enhance the fulfillment of the marriage, a weapon that the enemy uses to further bring division. You must be committed not to give place to the enemy and seek God's wisdom and guidance as to how to walk together with your mate in this business. And I guarantee you, my wife and I have been walking together for since we married. And there's no greater joy than being one with your mate in business.
Well, Patrice, I have personally watched you and Gina, and you really do work in harmony with one another, and she's more than your right hand. Let me put it that way.
Amen. That is true. That is true.
So it's really awesome to see you living what you're sharing. Can you share a situation with our listeners? And by the way, if you've just tuned in, you're listening to the Kingdom Business Forum here on K-Praise. And our mission is to help you operate a kingdom business, to help you understand that your business is your ministry. And today we're speaking about doing business as a family. So, Patrice, can you share a situation where you've counseled a couple who are having troubles doing business in oneness and what those consequences are?
Oh, yes. I have a very good example, as a matter of fact. There's a particular couple. The wife had taken biblical entrepreneurship. And during those days, I used to meet with every student before they went through the next class to just assess what God has done in their hearts, to guide them and counsel them before they went to BE2. This particular wife came to my office, a woman came to my office, and we met to talk about what the Lord had done in their heart through BE and what the next steps were. In our conversation, I discovered that her husband actually was an entrepreneur. In her mind, he was a hustler. Because she didn't consider his business as really legitimate. He was doing a newspaper business and wouldn't make a whole lot of money. At best, was was not as significant. Historically, the business had not been the stability of the family because she was always working in corporate America. To her, those were legitimate businesses.
So she was the breadwinner.
She was a breadwinner. And so, as we were talking, and I said to her, I would like to meet with you and your husband before we look at how to proceed with you. Would you be open to it, and would your husband come? She said, yeah, I'm sure he would. So we called her husband right there, and of course her husband said, who's this strange guy trying to meet with me and my wife? And so they came to my office. A couple of weeks later, we met. And I met with this couple, and at the end of our discussion, I discovered that her husband is truly an entrepreneur. And so I asked, at the end of our conversation, I asked the wife, who I had credibility because I had been her teacher. I said, if I were to share with you my advice, what I sense God's leading my heart to say, would you listen and would you submit to it?
Loaded question, Patrice. You're
said,
really good at that.
Yes, I would. I said, listen, I would like for you to postpone or delay your ambition to start your own business. I would like for you to join your husband in helping to build the business that God has given him. Apply all the things you learned to BE in that business. Vicky, she looked at me like I had lost my mind.
She's like, I want my money back, Patrice.
First of all, this guy has been hustling all this. I mean, this is unstable.
Right.
You want me to join him?
Right.
I said, listen, you both are two energy forces going in two different directions. Imagine the power if you now all go in the same direction. And by God's grace, Vicky, she listened to my advice very unwillingly, and I became their coach. I coached them along that process. And so we began to meet on a bi-weekly basis to coach them along that process. Within 12 months of that meeting, the business was doing over $1 million.
Wow.
The husband told me that those meetings, I didn't know that their marriage was in trouble. Turned their marriage around.
Oh, praise God.
So they not only had a healthier marriage, their father, the husband's father said, I don't know what that counselor is that business guy is helping you with, but whatever it is working for you. Keep going there. So them joining together as one force, not just transformed their marriage, but it transformed their business. And they wanted to employ it at their peak over 100 people.
What a great success story about what unity can do. And I like how you talked about going in two different directions, and we're dividing our energies. Can Can you share with listeners a little bit about how you and Gina approach this, if you would? Do you have, I know that Nehemiah Project has an official board of directors, but do you have a family business meeting? How often do you do it? Because I think listeners out there are going to be wondering how they can incorporate these ideas into their business.
Yeah. In the case of Gina and I, we both founded Nehemiah together, and really every business we do it together. So we are really at one extreme, and not really the norm.
Well, I know you're a ministry too, and that
really brings a different dynamic. But for us, really, even though we have a board of directors, Gina and I, we are the first board. So in other words, everything I do outside of us is an extension of God's will for us and for us together. So what we do is that when we have our family meetings, we incorporate not only discussion around the family issues, but then we talk about the business issues. For instance, here's how we do it. When we have families with the children, we discuss all the family implications and so forth. And then we release the children. We talk about the business issues. Recently, though, we started involving our children in the business meetings as well. Because we want to make, our oldest is 9 years old. So we want to begin to get her engaged to understand the implication of the business in a relationship to the family. Because we have for-profit businesses, as well as we have the ministry. What most people know about us is our ministry. But what really keeps us doing ministry is our consulting, our publishing, is the personal family business that we have. So we incorporate it as part of our family business. Now, so when we have routine staff meetings within Nehemiah or board meeting within Nehemiah where Gina and I participate, but that's not our family business meetings. That's with everybody else.
Right.
So her and I have private, personal meetings where we discuss issues before they go into the main setting. So which means this: if Gina was not involved in the day-to-day affairs of Nehemiah, she would be connected in, because she would have been part of giving me her input before we went to any public board meetings or to any public staff meetings. So,
okay, not to get too nitty-gritty here, but I think a lot of people like me want to know. So do you actually have like an agenda? And if so, is Gina creating it? Are you creating it? Or are you sitting
Typically,
down?
I drive the agenda.
You drive the agenda, and you sit down with Gina. And do you take her out to dinner?
Here's what's interesting. For wives, they don't consider these kind of business meeting as a date.
Right.
Now for you it might be a little different because you're the driver for the business. But my wife, in her mind, when we have, whether it's at dinner or at whatever, when we're having these discussions, for her it's not a date.
Right.
And so that's
business.
It's business.
I think if I fed Trevor, that would keep his attention.
Yeah.
And if I got him away from the children, that would keep his attention.
So, but the point you make is valid, because, for instance, when our children was young, even now, before they were in school, now that they're in school, what we would do is that during the daytime while they're at school, we will go out to a lunch or whatever, and there we'll have our business meetings as well. So we incorporate the business discussion within the fun we do. But just make sure again that it doesn't become the fun.
That's right.
So yes, I mean, having a lunch date as part of a breakfast as part of that, or dinner as a part of that, it helps to keep it dynamic. And also, we started doing that also because if we didn't do it, we wouldn't do it at all.
That's right. You have to be purposeful about this, I'm hearing. Okay, here's another question for you. So, you're advising people to make all major decisions about the business. But we're talking about a serious learning curve for some couples here, right? Because Trevor's involved in the business, but if on some of the major things, there would be kind of an education gap that I'd have to fill him in on, and then sort of expectantly wait for him to have some wisdom. And what he would probably say is, well, I don't know, babe, whatever you think is best. You know what I mean? Because he trusts me, which is part of the foundation of our unity in this thing. And so I can see where this business meeting that you're talking about, if our listeners would do that, if they have a business, to incorporate their spouse, that maybe if you start there, then I can see where it would be easier, or your spouse might feel more comfortable, more educated over time, let's say maybe over 3 to 6 months' time, to then begin to weigh in. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree. Part of it also, Vicki, for most spouses, they just want to be respected.
Right.
And so they feel honored and respected when they feel included. They may not have a huge opinion. They may keep saying, honey, whatever you think is best, but they feel a part of it. Obviously, in your case, Trevor feels a part. He trusts you.
He does.
He knows you honor and respect him. He knows you value his opinion. So as a result of that, he pretty much allow you to do make most major decision without major input. Now, of course, I bet you this: if Trevor discerned you were going the wrong direction, he would definitely give his opinion.
Indeed,
so
he would.
That's one factor. The trust factor allows for greater trust. I mean, the honoring and the allowing of your part allow for greater trust. The other factor is that the education gap. I mean, you cannot expect your mate who's not been involved in the business at all to all of a sudden have your same kind of wisdom. So you've got to find ways, creative and fun ways. For one couple, for instance, we had the CEO of the company, who is not the mate. We had the CEO of the company meet with the owner's mate to, on a regular basis, have lunch with them, or dinner, or breakfast, or lunch, whatever, as a way to get the other mate acclaim to the business, to educate them about the business. So there are various ways of doing. The idea is this: is that you need to have a proactive and intentional process within your family where the mate learns about the business. Second, you need to honor them by including them in all major decisions, whether they give any feedback or not. And third, you want to consider it to be our business and not yours.
I love that. Thank you, Patrice. You know, one of the things that the wheels are turning here, and I think there's a lot of neat ways that you could take this even outside the family business meeting. For example, you know, we like to walk around our property, which the whole thing encompasses both Restoring Order headquarters and our conference center and our homestead, if you will. And so we like to walk around the property and really pray for it and claim God's promises. And I think a family prayer walk around your business, your place of business, praying over your employees together, praying for your clients together, I think that can only enhance your commitment to what God is doing there. And it can be a training process along the way. In fact, an idea that just popped into my head for my business, I do a lot of speaking engagements and trainings. And I'm always, you know, we're sort of shuffling children at this stage. We have 2 very young children. And so it's Trevor can very infrequently attend. And so I'm going to be inviting him after this conversation to some, you know, of the bigger engagements, just so he can see sort of the fruit.
Of what? Imagine if you invited to speak somewhere, Vicki, at a resort, and you go with Trevor. During this, when you're speaking, he's down there with you, but then when you're doing other stuff, he's out there having fun at the pool, whatever.
You got to give me one of those engagements, Patrice. I like this idea of resort.
Yeah.
No, but George Fox, I'm going to be doing their major conference, Selah, this fall, and I think that'd be very exciting for him to be involved in that. You know, this is such an important topic, doing business as a family. We are one flesh, and so what your advice really seems to me to be, to sum up here, is really just embracing and aligning with that, not trying to create something that isn't, but really aligning with what God's original intention was, and being proactive, taking initiative to do this, because it's not going to develop on its own. So you've been listening to the Kingdom Business Forum this evening, where we've been talking about doing business as a family. We try to cover topics that will help you build a kingdom business to advance the Great Commission. I hope you've been blessed. I hope that your spouse will now be able to become involved in your business, and that they too will be blessed. I pray for more fruitfulness on your business. Be sure to connect with us and share your ideas for family business at the Kingdom Business Forum on Facebook. Just go to Facebook, type in Kingdom Business Forum, and share your ideas with us. This will be a great way that we can connect with one another. God bless you, and thank you for listening to the Kingdom Business Forum today.